welcome to another evening edition of Orange Weekly After Dark. As usual, my name is Jason Andino, and tonight I am once again joined by Kevin. I'm going as Garrett Bowles for Halloween Dandino.
You know what? Highest ranked left tackle in the league per Pro Football Focus. So I'm okay with that.
I figured I'd give you a decent one every once in a while. Don't get used to it though.
I have to shave though. I don't want to shave.
Well, hey, No Shave November's coming up.
I did. I started last November.
No. That's not how it works. Not at all how this works. All right, guys. As usual, feel free to start commenting. Feel free to post your comments, questions, concerns about this game, which there are quite a few to go over. In the meantime, Kevin, as usual, we usually start you off whenever you join us with a 30-second max summary of your thoughts of the game. So whenever you're ready, you have 30 seconds and go.
Ouch. Ow. My heart. It hurts. Look, we all knew we were going to lose, right? But to this degree, special teams freaking killed us. Those interceptions, can't blame them all on Drew Lock. But any of those big errors that we made, look, this wasn't a death by inches. This was a death by just total blowout, terrible plays at the wrong time. So I think that sums it up in a whole, honestly.
Yeah, you got it right on that mark again. You've gotten a lot better at those over the sessions. We used to struggle with that. So, like you said, a lot of breakdown, a very disappointing game. I wouldn't say disappointing all over. I was impressed by our defense, which
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, if this was a game used as a measuring stick to see if the Broncos have narrowed the gap against the Chiefs at all, I think everybody was very disappointed in that. And not only haven't we closed the gap, but it seems, according to this game, that gap has actually lengthened and a lot of work to go. Red Cloud, to your point, yeah, we're not hating on Bulls. I was finally giving Kevin a decent intro. Bulls has been one of the few bright spots on the team consistently throughout the season. He's been great, but yeah, Kev, where you get your butt handed to you against a division rival and what was a big game. Reminds me a bit of last year's first game against the Chiefs, where it was a big game with a very similar result. The only difference is Patrick Mahomes played the whole game as compared to last year, where he went down early with that knee injury, and we still got embarrassed by a backup quarterback at that point. So where do we go from here? What steps do we take? We're 2-4 now. Long road ahead of us. Where do we go?
So I'm going to base that answer based off a couple comments and questions here. Red Cloud, one of the Orange Weekly IGs, by the way, OGs, Instagram OGs. It's way past my bedtime. These comments about Locke, though, right? We need to keep developing. Look, if the Colts had cut Peyton Manning after his first 10 games, where he was 2-8, and I'm going to say this a million times, I'm not saying Drew Lock is going to be Peyton Manning by any stretch. There is no other Peyton Manning. There never ever will be. But the point is, what about John Elway, where he had all those terrible years? Yeah, we got to a couple Super Bowls, but we just got completely blown out of the water. If we had just let those people go, because we said early on, oh, they must be a wash. Look, I get it. It's too early to tell. It is still, this was his 9th start, if you count the start against the Steelers, where he was in there for basically all of 34 and a half seconds. It's too early to tell, guys. This is his first full season. He's missed a couple games. You have the majority of the players out there, starting wise on the offense, first year rookies, second year, maybe some third year players. Okay. You're going up against teams that have established head coaches, a Super Bowl winning team, yeah, he had a terrible game. And what I'm saying is we need to develop across the board. But this is a defining moment for Drew Lock. One thing we can look at young quarterbacks is how do you bounce back from terrible games? We saw the fourth quarter against the Patriots where he had those 2 interceptions. He had the myriad of issues yesterday. I think it stemmed from trying to be too aggressive early on. But how is he going to bounce back from that? If he continues to just let this pile on, kind of like Garrett Bowles, for the first 4 years, okay, after some time, that's going to say, yeah, maybe we do need to move on. But I'm sorry, Red Cloud. I'm sorry, everyone else. You disagree with me, that's fine. This is what Orange Weekly is all about. You can disagree with me. I'm going to disagree with you. But we're all fans here. And bottom line, Jason, it's way too soon to start throwing people off the bus.
No, I completely agree. I mean, when you look at it, just for reference, like you said, I'm not saying this is a Peyton Manning situation at all, but Peyton Manning's first full season, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. Threw more interceptions his first year than touchdown passes. To again, just go to your point that it's too early to tell. I mean, I'm not saying he's the answer, but I'm certainly not saying he's not the answer. For all intents and purposes, like you said, he's started in 9 games, but realistically, he's played in 8. For Jason Lafferty, I actually agree with Kevin, which is, I know. To be fair, Kevin has a good idea every once in a while. He makes a good point every once in a while. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. But, I'm not really to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. We have 2 poor performances on Drew Lock's part, which honestly, I don't know how healthy he is. He was diagnosed with that shoulder injury, expecting to miss 4 to 6 weeks. He missed 2 games. Mm-hmm. If you look at that original time frame, he should still be out.
Yeah.
So again, as far as, I've seen a few comments about deep throws being inaccurate, throws being off. Part of that could be the shoulder, because it was his throwing shoulder that was hurt. Part of it could be missed time. These things take reps, and this is the stuff you normally work out during preseason, stuff you normally work out during those preseason games. And instead, it was a very short training camp. He had 1 full game, and then the start of the second game he was injured, where he was then missing another few weeks where he wasn't getting reps in. That's extremely tough for a quarterback, for any player, to miss that much time and expect to come in and to play at an extremely high caliber. I think it's unfair to Drew Lock to expect us to throw him out. And here's the other thing. Red Cloud, here's my question to you, I guess, is, say Lock is a bust. What do we do right now? Do we bench him for Ripien? Drew Lock is our best quarterback right now, and there's no arguing that. You will not be able to convince me that our backup.
Don't say go get Fitzgerald or whatever, or Fitzpatrick. Yeah. Don't.
No, no trade's going to happen this year to get him. Whatever. The current roster right now, Drew Lock is our best quarterback, hands down. And so why not write him out? Why not play him the rest of the season to see if he's our guy or not? I don't think you can make that judgment based on 8 performances with 2 systems, mind you. He's worked under 2 completely offensive systems. So anyways, I don't think Lock is the issue right now. Again, I'm not saying he's the answer, but I'm saying it's way too early to say it's not the answer. So with that, I want to go with Armani. Great comment. Moving on, play calls. Do you think it's an issue? Do you think it's not an issue? Where do you think the issue lies? Because right now, the Broncos are struggling offensively, and not just right now. They have been for a while. The only team to have fewer points per game, I believe, in the past 2 seasons than the Broncos are the Jets. And I could be slightly off on that, but it's something like that. So either way,
far off.
Anytime you're comparing yourself to the Jets like that, not a good metric. So is it the play calling? Is it the execution? Is it all the above? What's going on with our offense?
I think Armani's question kind of ties into here. Drew Lock's not afraid to go for those deep throws. He needs to hit the intermediate rows. So execution. Look, I get it. To have a chance to beat the Chiefs, you have to put up points. And I think that's exactly what the mentality Drew Lock went into the game with. I have to get this offense going. We have to take those chances. We have to get points up on the board early. It's almost like he went out there panicked right off the bat. The play calls are drawn up to give him that deep option. That doesn't mean that is the only option. So we're seeing him. I don't know if it's not panic, not being in the pocket, because he's calm in the pocket, right? The pocket is holding for him, holding well for him. But he's not making his reads. He sees a matchup he might like and he just bombs that thing down the field. And, that's kind of what he does sometimes. He is a gunslinger and sometimes it's going to hurt us. But when you're seeing that for the entire first half and you're seeing Noah Fant and all these other players doing crossing routes right in the middle there for 10, 15-yard gains and nobody's near them, well, you've got to start adjusting. And I think that's what happened. It's not the play calling, it's execution. It's how Drew Lock is mentally going out into the game. Is he taking that extra 0.2 of a second to make his go down his read progressions? And so, yeah, I think, Eric, you're spot on. It's not the play calling, it's Drew Lock's execution. And then it goes with the receiver's execution too. They credited Drew Lock with one of those interceptions, but it was really KJ Hamler getting hit in the chest and then saying, hot potato, here you go. Hey, you take it now, buddy. And just the defender was right there perfectly. And so there are things like that where I'm going to pull up the stats again from yesterday, but Jason, that's my take on it. It's not necessarily play calling. It's the execution, and it starts with Drew Lock.
I agree. And I think I think the spotlight was on Drew Lock yesterday because everyone's trying to compare him. They're trying to force this battle of Mahomes versus Lock, and Lock just isn't there yet. And I think Lock is trying to make it happen to a fault. He's trying too hard to make that big play. He's trying too hard to force things to happen when the open receiver 5-10 yards away from him is wide open. And instead he's trying to force that long ball. So I agree. The play calling dialed up, I think, is rock solid. I think it's creating open receivers. It's creating open routes. The other thing here and that I was going to address is, Neil, perfect way to phrase it.
Wow.
Flea flicker to the moon, right? Flea flicker to the moon. We finally established a run game. Our run game was killing it, doing very well. And out of nowhere, that happens, right? I think to put it correctly, how to phrase this properly, I guess. We established a run game, and that flea flicker was called at the perfect time. Right. It was the perfect time setting on the field as far as midfield. You have the Kansas City Chiefs totally bought into the run game because they're selling out on the run, right? They're starting to stack the box because we've established that run game. The flea flicker was the perfect call in that situation. And we have our great running back, Melvin Gordon, unable to pitch the ball 3 yards back and instead skies it to the moon over Lock's head, even when Lock jumps, right? I mean, come on. That is pure execution, lack of execution, I should say. I mean, that was embarrassing. To call yourself an NFL player and you can't pitch the ball 3 yards behind you to your quarterback is beyond embarrassing. I think, to be honest, Melvin Gordon had more of a game to forget than Drew Lock did. And Drew Lock didn't have a good game. And it was unfortunate. Phillip Lindsay was having an outstanding game again to start with. He was averaging something stupid like 9 yards per carry before he got hurt, and took that hit to the head, which I think it should have been a foul flag. Should have been head to head. He lowered his head, went straight into the head. And so it's unfortunate because, again, I think that was an example of the coaches making the appropriate adjustments, right? Melvin Gordon was playing like crap. He had already fumbled the ball at that point, wasn't playing well. Let's ride Lindsay. Lindsay's doing well. He's doing well, and he gets hurt. You have to go back to Gordon, right? And so I think it was an example of, again, the coach making a proper adjustment. And then the way the Broncos season's happening is injuries abound. and we're left with what we have.
Yep.
You know, it's unfortunate, but I think all of this, especially yesterday, has way less to do with any coaching issue or play calling issue, and it has 100% of an issue of execution on the players and the players not being accountable for their own issues.
Yep. Not sure why my screen is acting all weird. I did break down some of the box score stats here. If you want to hear more about it on the Orange Weekly post game podcast, I'm not sure if that's pulling up too well for everybody. I was hoping it would. But yeah, check that out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcast. Orange Weekly post game podcast is up there, and we are known as the best and the more fun Orange Weekly podcast out there. But really, I want to look at this. First downs, Broncos had 24 to Chiefs 17. And now keep in mind, they had that one kick return. They had the pick six. So there's a couple drives there that were not accounted for, essentially. Total yards, Broncos 411 to 286. Drives 13 to 12 for the Broncos. Now, even with those, the pick six and the kick return, this one's interesting. Yards per play, 5.6 for the Chiefs, 5.4 for the Broncos. So when you're looking at some of those numbers, look, I know at the end of the day, all that matters is the scoreboard, right? But if I was somebody who did not watch any of the game and did not know the final score, and I looked at these stats, I would say minus the turnovers, 4-1, I would say, man, the Broncos either won by a nose or it was really close, because the other big one is third down efficiency for the Chiefs, 0 and 8. You're talking about the defensive stats on this thing are phenomenal. I mean, what other team has allowed 0 third down conversions for the Chiefs? This season, last season, I don't even know when the last time that happened against them, right? So the box score stats show a different story. It shows a team that if you clean up the special teams, if you don't have that pick six, if KJ Hamler doesn't, play hot potato, if Melvin Gordon doesn't I don't know what he thought he was throwing, but if he didn't throw that, and if that defender wasn't in the perfect spot, that defender was way out of place. He was not supposed to be there, right? But he wasn't. So you take away those 3-4 big plays, and you have a totally different game. And if I'm the Broncos, that's what I'm taking away from this. We have got to clean up the execution, stop the stupid mistakes. We have the defense to beat these teams. We just need the offense to pull their weight and just not suck, do average, do slightly above average. And we're going to be in every one of these games, if not winning more than half of them. So that's what I found interesting when I was looking at these stats, Jason, is, man, you're telling me that Chiefs had 8 third downs and they didn't get a single conversion on any of them. What?
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah, you're right, Red. And we say this over and over again, but
way too much, it feels like. And Red Cloud, I'm going to go 0 for 2 with you here. I apologize. I don't think it shows we should have won. Anytime you lose by that large of a margin, you should not have won that game. No. And you have that many mistakes, you should not have won. But I do think it shows we could have won, right? You take out those two terrible first half mistakes, right, between the pick six and the kick return, and it's a 10-9 game going into half. That's a very winnable game at that point, right? Especially when you did your job in keeping Mahomes off the field. I think that's part of why we had such a good third down efficiency rate on our defense, is you took Mahomes out of the game. He was cold. He was out of rhythm. The offense was out of rhythm. Their starting field position was stupidly good, and we still held them to field goal after field goal until the end of the game, where things just kind of wore down. But yeah, this is, I guess from my end, bad games happen, right? And unfortunately, sometimes when you have a bad game, you are playing a very good team. Mm-hmm. That's what I saw. It was Broncos having a bad game against the Super Bowl defending champions who are favored to win another Super Bowl this year, right? Which kills me to say, but the Chiefs are that good again. And they did to us what the Broncos did years ago, where they took advantage of the other team's mistakes. And right now we're on the other end where we're not good enough to be able to afford mistakes, especially playing teams against the Chiefs, right? You have to know who you're playing and you have to limit those mistakes. You can make those mistakes against the Chiefs or the Jets, right? We made 2 back-to-back interceptions. We were still able to pull that game out of the water against the Jets. You cannot make those mistakes against the Chiefs and expect the result to be anywhere favorable. So, and so with that, it's understandable why the defense would be frustrated. From my end, it was a waste of defensive performance. There was some talk about the end of the game, particularly with Shelby Harris supposedly getting into it with Vic Fangio. The announcers were talking about Chubb getting into it with some fellow teammates. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something to be concerned about moving forward? Is it just, again, frustrations leaking out, or what do you see with all that?
So again, I don't want to spoil what we talk about on the post-game podcast. Tanner and I kind of break that one down quite a bit. To kind of sum it up, I get why there's frustration. Okay. But there's a difference between when you're looking at leadership, there are 2 sides of the spectrum. You have leaders, if you will, what are supposed to be leaders on the team, waiting until everything has gone to shit and then speaking up. And then it just becomes yelling at people. And that doesn't do anything productive. So we see these players have this passion, Bradley Chubb, Shelby Harris, and Shelby Harris had a phenomenal game, right? And I can completely understand the defense's frustration there. But you see these players with this passion, but it's not being channeled in the right way. These are supposed to be leaders of the defense. And where's the leader of the offense? I'll get to that in a second. But this is a time where, hey, look at what we're doing out there. We've got to keep our offense in the game, rile the team up around you in a positive way when maybe things haven't gone out of hand, but you need to collect everyone's thoughts back together, bring the team back together before you go back out. Right. So I appreciate the energy, but it's being thrown in the wrong direction. It's not leadership. It's screaming at that point. Alternatively, on the offense, look, Drew Lock, it's his first season. He's going to have more rookie mistakes. He's going to have more second-year quarterback mistakes next year, and we're looking for him to get better, right? But at this point, he's got to realize that this is his offense. And he says it well in the post-game press conferences. This one's on me. It's not the rest of the offense. I'm the one who's screwing up. I need to take it upon myself to play better, right? But why is that not translating to the field? You never hear him, and we don't see the sidelines throughout the game, but you never see or you never hear about Drew Lock gathering the offense up. Hey, look at what our defense is doing for us. Why can we not get this thing going? Get people together. Here's our game plan. Rile the players up. Let's go out there. Let's make it worth our defense's while to keep us in this game. Let's prove that they're not wasting their time. You don't see that from Drew Lock. And he's at the point now where he needs to step up and be that leader. So that's kind of my thoughts on everything that happened in the game. I appreciate the passion. It's being completely used in the wrong way. It's not leadership. It's screaming at that point, and it's not getting anything done. If you redirect it a little bit, now you have something positive going for you.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I have to disagree a little bit. One, from Drew Lock's side, he's got enough issues in his own game to worry about. And to me, it would be a worse look for him to try to hold teammates accountable when he is screwing up just as bad.
I'm not saying hold him accountable. I'm saying motivating.
And I say to that degree, it falls on him, right? You can't call out your teammates in any capacity and say, we got to show that our defense isn't wasting their time. And meanwhile, I'm going to overshoot my receiver by 20 yards, right? So right now, I think Drew Lock needs to focus on his own game, and somebody else on that offense needs to step up. Who that is, I'm not sure. Defensively, I get what you're saying, but I was happy to finally see some emotion on that defense.
Sure.
And I'm okay with how it presented itself for now. I agree. Now's the time to kind of channel that energy differently, but I am okay seeing Shelby Harris, especially Shelby Harris, who is one of the most even keel guys, happy-go-lucky guys on the team, and Chubb is finally stepping up into that leadership role. I have no issue with the way they went about it yesterday. I think it was about time somebody said, enough is enough. This losing games in ways we shouldn't be losing is enough. The stupid mistakes are enough. Shelby Harris taking a stupid penalty at the end, even though the game was basically done at that point. What are you taking an unsportsmanlike penalty for at that point? Someone should get in your face about that one. And at the same time, again, I don't mind Shelby Harris getting angry at that point and yelling at teammates and possibly even coaches. It's about time somebody in this organization is stepping up and saying, enough is enough. This crap has to stop, because we are not a team who deserves to lose. We are not the Jets who are just outmatched by this much every single week. We are a team who is consistently beating ourselves week after week, and it has to stop. So I am totally okay with finally somebody blowing up and saying this crap has to stop. Now, you have to have a short memory in that capacity. And as those leaders, if you're Chubb, if you're Harris, you have to move beyond and say, okay, how are we going to address it? How are we going to fix it moving forward? We can't get caught up in that moment and stay there. We can't get stuck in Sunday's issues. We have to now move forward. How do we hold each other accountable? How do we say, hey, this has to stop now, but how do we move forward?
Right.
If I had to guess, Red Cloud, I'm taking a shot in the dark here. I'm guessing you don't like Locke. I'm just guessing I'm trying to read between the lines of what you're saying. I think you think Locke is a bust. But again, I think that's beside the point right now. I see Steve Jackson, we're averaging 19.3 points per game, and that has been an issue with the Broncos for a while. I think a part of that is, I think a large part of that is the execution. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, I think there are still some positives that we see from this team. I think our offensive line being one of them. Again, we touched on at the very start, Garrett Bowles being one of them. I think we have, keep in mind, our number one wide receiver is out for the year. And we have a bunch of very young, unproven receivers trying to step up and fill some of those shoes. And I think they're doing well. I think Tim Patrick has been lights out this year. I think he has stepped up in a way that nobody expected him to be able to. Tim Patrick has been one of the most reliable players on this team. Yep. Jerry Jeudy, he's doing okay for a rookie. I'd like to see a little bit more out of him, but as far as rookies go, he's pretty solid. Hamler has been in and out with injuries, so we'll see what comes from that. But here's the question that I think we're moving into, is does Fangio and Shermer get fired? Not just this week. I'll even add it anytime soon. I'll let you have the first go on this one, but I think we know my my stance on this. So I'll have the first shot before I throw my thoughts into it.
So if we're talking about this week, okay, who are we going to replace him with? And it's an honest question. I'm not trying to, call anyone out. It's some fans out there, and not saying all of you are any of them, but fire everybody, fire Elway, fire the coaches. Okay, one, what is your plan for replacing them? And two, how much control does Pat Shermer really have of Melvin Gordon? I wish I even had an idea of what he was doing, throwing that, flea flicker back so far. Drew Lock throwing those interceptions. Where the coach is going to, what impact do they have really on some of the big plays? If we're talking about any coach possibly being in jeopardy of his job, special teams, Tom McMahon, I think is the name. I can't remember. He's been around for a while. The special teams have been in a lot of trouble for quite a while. And they're proving, this last week, once again, how just horrendous we are on special teams. So if you're talking about any coach, maybe him, maybe. Pat Shermer's not going anywhere. Vic Fangio's not going anywhere. If we lose the next couple of games against, we have the Chargers this week, and then we have the Falcons. If we lose against the Falcons, if we lose against some of these other teams, and now we're looking at going 2-8, 2-10, 3-10, whatever. Okay, now we're getting close to the end of the season, and there's an honest, real conversation that we might start looking to have. But once again, it goes back to that means we're gonna start over. You want to get rid of Drew Lock and get Taylor? Okay, well, we're starting over, all over again. And you look at these teams that have done so well for so many years, and yeah, they have a lot of ups and they have a lot of downs, but look like at the Steelers, they've had 3 coaches essentially the entire history of their organization. You have to keep people in the place to let the coaching staff develop the team, develop the players, build the players through the draft, get them that experience, see where they are in 5 or 6 years. At that point, as long as it's not absolutely horrendous every single year, hey, let them keep going, Now, again, if we finish the season 2-14, which I don't think is going to happen by a long shot, now we need to start thinking, is this really the path we want to go? We're seeing negative progression versus positive. And so, no, they're not going to get fired. Not this week. Let's talk about it again in a few weeks after we've played some of the teams like the Falcons, who we should easily beat. But it goes back to, are we really going to start this process all over again? And then after, a new coach comes in, we get a new rookie quarterback. We go on a losing streak that season. Fine, we need another quarterback. Why do we hire this head coach? You need to get another head coach. You gotta ride out these low points, man. You gotta stick with them. So at this point, letting any of them go is going to be is going to cause more damage than good.
No, I totally agree.
That wasn't good enough. I need a Melvin Gordon.
Go higher. For me, I agree. And I think this has been a lost season early on because of our injuries. And I've said what seems like every single week I'm on here, I compare us to the 49ers in their second year, right? Their second year under Mike Shanahan, not Mike Shanahan,
Kyle
Shanahan's son, Kyle Shanahan. Their second season, so their first season they went 6-10, I believe. Their second season they went 4-12, right? With a lot of injuries to very key players. Okay. Now, look at our situation. What was our record last year?
7-9. I don't remember.
Right? Yeah, it was roughly around the first year of Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. Second season was 4-12. Again, that's with our injuries, including now Mike Purcell, who's on season-ending IR with his injury. Who knows how long Lindsey's going to be out? Hopefully not long, but either way, injuries continue to be an issue with this team. You can't develop any consistency with your playbook. You can't develop any consistency and repetitions with these guys. It's going to be, all intents and purposes, likely a lost season, right? I would not be too surprised if we finish 4-12. That does not mean get rid of the coaching staff. That means write it out like you were saying. What happened when the 49ers wrote it out with Kyle Shanahan? The third year. They went to the freaking Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. And they gave the Chiefs a run for their money, right? Yep. Argue at that point the coaching staff screwed it up in the Super Bowl for them. However, they got to the freaking Super Bowl, right? In their third season after 2 losing seasons with a new coach. If you consistently get in this habit of fire every coach after a single losing season, it does 2 things. One, you turn to the Browns, which nobody wants. So they've had 4 coaching staffs in 4 years, and look how well that's worked out for them. The other thing is you cannot bring good coaches in because no coach is going to want to see that opportunity and go, oh, I have 1 season to make this team magically better. If not, the fans are going to ride me out of town. So now you're losing out any potential interest of any decent coach that wants to come in and replace whatever coaching staff you fired.
Yeah.
So at this point, getting rid of any of the main players on the coaching staff. So you're obviously a head coach, defense coordinator, offense coordinator. Getting rid of them does more harm than any good, right? And to say that, for me, to say that Fangio is the one costing these games with his play calling or his strategy or his game planning is not watching the games. To me, they're just, and I apologize to anyone, this is not a direct shot at anyone, but to those general masses saying that, you're just echoing other people. Because if you look at again, take out 2 key mistakes that are not on the coaching staff at the first half, it is 10-9 against the Chiefs going to half. 10-9. that means your strategy is working for you. It means your game planning is solid and your play calling is spot on. So to say that Fangio is getting outcoached in these situations is laughable to me. Absolutely laughable, because it is not Fangio who's having Gordon airmail a 3-yard pitch.
Airmail, that's a good one.
It's not having Gordon fumble it for the 5th time in however many games he's played for the Broncos. It is not Hamler having a ball hit him in the hands and basically hand it off to a Chiefs player. It is not Fangio who allows them to run a 102-yard kickoff return. That is not on Fangio. That is on the players and the execution, and it's on the players to realize, hey, they are professional football athletes here. They need to get their act together, figure it out. With that said, I want to take a chill pill here, and I'll let you get to Ray Cloud's comment in a second here, but let's take a break for my sake here. Why don't you run down all the stuff that we have coming at all these great fans through each week. We can even throw in our great sponsor that is on that banner on the bottom.
So we had, we talked about players letting us down, right? Kind of throughout the show. I'll tell you one player who will not let you down. That is Centennial State Insurance Agency here in Colorado. They are your go-to company for any insurance needs. They're not like some major insurance company out there where, they'll give you a quote, but past that, they're taking your money and they don't really care. If something happens, you're going to be on the phone with some big name organization for, 20, 30 minutes. Somebody will maybe eventually answer. Maybe they're from this country or not. I don't know. Bottom line is they don't care about you. They don't care about your situation. They'll try and figure it out. But then guess what? They go home and they move on with their lives. The people at Centennial State Insurance Agency all care about you. You will have a go-to insurance agent that knows who you are, knows your family, knows your situation. And if something happens, they are going to be the ones that you reach out to, and they're going to give you that quality one-on-one personal touch that you do not get from any other organization. So past that, they will also tell you, they will be straight up honest with you if they are not the right company to go with at that time. I was shopping around for car insurance a little bit ago, went to them, asked them for a quote as I was shopping around. They said, here's why our quote is higher. If this is what you're looking for, we're not the right company to go with right now. But, down the road, if you want to shop around again, come back, you know what I mean? But they are the go-to guys. Check them out, especially with winter coming up. Lots of misfortunate accidents going on on the roads here. Hopefully none for any of you watching, but give them a call, 303-838-0554. Their number is scrolling underneath the screen, and you can reach out and give them a call. Past that, lots of Broncos content for you guys here at Orange Weekly. Win, lose, or tie, we are here. We got this show, Orange Weekly After Dark, Tuesday night flagship show, Bourbon Broncos No BS, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We got our post-game podcast, pre-game podcast. Those are on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Wherever you listen to your podcast, I will bet you money that we're there. So go find us there. Give us that 5-star rating if you like what we're doing. Give us a review on Facebook if you like what we're doing. We really appreciate that. Don't forget about Ragers on Saturday if you're into sports betting at all, or even if you just want to hear what the betting lines of the Broncos game is going to be and maybe just learn about sports betting. That's the show and podcast you want to listen to. Ray is, I can't remember what he is now, but going into this last week, he was 14-5-2 on the season, and he won't just tell you what bets he's taking, but he'll tell you why. And then he'll tell you why he's not taking other bets. And it's not just, I love the Broncos, I'm gonna pick the Broncos to win. It's actual sports betting, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. Been doing it for years. So check that out. And of course, got our pregame show and our halftime hash. Jason, we are the only people out there who do a dedicated halftime show for the fans. I don't see any other team's fan base doing that, let alone other Broncos shows. So not only do we have a whole gambit of stuff lined up for all you Broncos fans, we bring you some pretty unique content. So that's what we're here for. I think I got it all.
I think so. That was impressive. Yeah, like you said, lots of stuff coming at you. Be sure to follow all of our social media accounts. Follow us on Facebook if you aren't already. Feel free to share that page. Once you listen to that podcast and you realize how awesome of a podcast it is, give us that 5-star rating for us. It goes a long ways. And if you can review our page here on Facebook too, that would go a long ways. Whether it's a great review, which we will obviously always accept, or even if there's something, an idea that you have that you think we can change or add to our show, that would be much appreciated as well. Again, this is a show by fans for fans. And so the more you can contribute to it, the better it is. Now, I feel like we've ignored Red Cloud quite a bit here. I know you.
No, he's good.
Times
he's good.
So if you want to add anything to Red Cloud, I'll give you that chance before we move into a new segment here as we start to wrap things up.
Yeah, really quickly. And Red Cloud, you did bring up a point of, look at the last 5 years of our losing seasons, right? Okay, I get that point to a point. Fangio's only been here for 2 years. The 3 years before that, John Elway had the mindset of, we just need to get a couple people from free agency and we're going to be back in the playoffs. We're going to be Super Bowl bound, not really drafting well at all. So now we're bringing in players year after year after year that are not staying with the team for more than 2 or 3 years the most. And so that's hurting our depth. We're not growing organically, through the draft. We're just making terrible ownership decisions. What you've seen in the last 2 years is John Elway drafting very wisely and changing his draft strategy. And we're seeing that pay off through players like Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. You look, and we went back and got Philip Lindsay from the college free agency list, which I know is in the draft, but still it's how you evaluate players and bring them in. Right. Heck, at this point, Garrett Bowles, it didn't make any sense, at the end of last year, why we still, what was going on, but now look, hey, that's kind of paying off. So I can't take into account the 3 years prior to the last 2. To me, those are a wash. Those were wasted years completely on Elway, but he's turning things around. This team's turning things around. You may be willing to take a Drew Lock jersey and throw it in the trash. I have not bought one, but I'm not ready to count them out yet. So that's where I'm coming from. Red Cloud is those 3 years are completely different than the last year and a half.
Totally agree. And hey, Red Cloud, I'm not hating. I'm not a hater. I'm a lover. Kevin agrees with that. He doesn't have to ignore his face right now. Well, I care for all of you all. But and to that point, before you even interject, Kevin, we're not even going to get to that. We're too tight on time. Red Cloud's
a Marine. Red Cloud's a Marine. He's always angry.
You know what? You've done this to me, so we're going to do that for just a minute here. Payback sucks, doesn't it, Kevin? He can't respond right now, but I see you guys, and we appreciate you. I see your comments, Jose, Neil, Benjamin, Steve, and Daniel. I promise we're not ignoring your comments. They're just coming in so fast right now. It's hard to get to them all. And I apologize for what I'm about to add back to the stream, but there we go with the hat now too. It's
tough
rough.
Ball.
If nothing else, it covers part of his face, so we'll take that. But point being, we appreciate you guys' comments, and I promise we're not trying to ignore any of you. Again, these shows are fun, but when they come in, like you guys have been posting your comments, which we love, sometimes we just can't quite get to them all
tomorrow.
But we will. Yeah, again, that's one of the reasons we have multiple shows, is we can address more down the road. So we're going to start to wrap things up, guys. Feel free to post your comments. We'll try to get to a few more of them. But Kevin, we're going to introduce a new segment on Orange Weekly After Dark because I am tired of not being able to give out Mile High salutes. So for the weeks we can't give out the Mile High salutes, we are going to go with our empowerless moments because I'm not a fan of the empower field, so we're going to empowerless moment. So what is your empowerless moment?
So I'm not sure exactly where you're going with this, but I think the one play, if I'm going to go with empowerless, is Gordon. More bad news than positive news, fumble, I don't even have anything to throw, but if I did, I would just throw it across the room because essentially what he did with that flea flicker. So, sorry, Melvin. I know you're watching. You're a big fan of the show, I'm sure, just like the rest of the team, but you're definitely getting my empowerless moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And for any of you Broncos that do watch, we apologize for any negative comments. It's out of good fun. If you want to talk about it, join our show live. We'll gladly bring you onto our show if any of you are watching this at any point now or down the road. Anyways, my empowerless moment of the game, that kickoff return, it felt like we were finally getting the ball rolling. Momentum was starting to maybe swing our way, and we allow a 102-yard touchdown. Absolutely dagger in the back. Can't have those plays. It defeats everything you're trying to achieve. So there we go. Our new segment, empowerless moments of the game. I'll let you go with this. I'll let you go with this one here.
Okay, yeah, no, Dan. Sorry, that's the one thing we're not doing. There's too much competition of, we're trying to watch the post-game press conferences. Everybody and their mom are doing stuff. So that's one thing that we just, we haven't added, and maybe someday down the line, but at least this season, that's one thing we're just not doing. But that's why we have this show, so we ourselves can calm down a little bit before we give our post-game reaction. So.
Absolutely. And Steve Jackson, I'm guessing this is your empowerless moment of the game as well. That's a good call. Feel free to post your empowerless moments of the game. There were a few to choose from. So with that being said, as we start to wrap things up, I think things we've learned tonight is Red Cloud does not like lock.
What?
I know. Breaking news.
And when you say we, that's not the collective we.
It's we as in the collective we as a Red Cloud.
Red Cloud, love you, bro. Love you, bro. You're a Marine, so I got to give you extra shit.
Here's what I want to say. Don't lose faith. Do not lose faith.
There's always next year.
There's always next year, and I hate to say it because I hate when you guys say this. I'll let you say it.
We are not mathematically eliminated. Okay?
Eliminated. Listen, Austin.
Fine. Give up on
your. It's a rough year. We have the most tied up and injured reserve. Our key players are out for the year. It sucks. It's a lost season. Lost seasons happen even to good teams. It sucks. You have to get through it. Do not lose faith in this team. This current team that we are currently rostering might not be the best, but don't lose faith in the organization. I do think we have the pieces in place, especially when we are healthy. I saw some comments earlier. I think it was Neil saying we don't have any depth on this team. We are currently using up our depth and then some. Our depth is in the game, and some of our depth players are gone. We are out of depth. We are going into the dregs of the NFL depth right now to try to field a roster right now. So don't lose faith. Everyone, please stay warm. I know it's cold in Colorado. Some other places where you're watching might be cold as well. If it's not, it might get cold. I don't know. Stay warm, stay healthy, stay safe. Halloween's coming up. Make good choices. Don't do anything Kevin wouldn't do.
Buy my jersey. Kev Dan on the back. Do it.
Yeah, I would highly for
puffball. Just get a puffball jersey. It's awesome.
I would highly suggest not doing anything regrettable like getting a jersey with Kevin's name on the back. So I don't even know. Get Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy will be here for a while if I had to guess. Anyways, again, I know there's lots of stuff we didn't get to tonight. I know there's some comments we didn't get to. There's tons of content coming to you the rest of the week. Tune in tomorrow night for the main show. It's a fun time. A lot of great jokes, including Kevin on there. So it's a great time. I had to throw one out there. I was behaving myself all night. I was trying.
That's fair.
With that being said,
Jason, are you team puffball?
I currently no, I hate puffballs. I'm not a team visor either. I hate visors as well. So just give me the normal baseball cap. I will rock that any day.
And Jason muted himself. So I think there he is.
I got so mad I hit my computer so hard it muted me. So with that, clearly too late for us. It is we still haven't calmed down enough. So we're gonna log off. Neil, right back at you. You guys are awesome. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thanks everyone for joining. Fans do rock. That's why we're here. But I think there's nothing else to say, man, other than the good old
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sipping goose, if it's right, and I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, yeah, they know I'm a pro.